In this video, I am going to show you how to sew on a magnetic button. Now these buttons are sewn on at the same time that you're sewing on decorative buttons to the outside. The magnetic buttons are sewn on to the inside. And they help to keep your pocket closed on your bag. This bag happens to be the flipped out bag, but you can use them on any bag. I'm using two here for added security, and then I also have two on the back side. This particular bag has pockets on the outside, so this secures the pockets on both sides. So on this particular project, I am using a Bowen magnetic button. It is not a magnetic snap. It is a magnetic button. It has two holes in the center of both parts to the magnet so that you can sew it on like a regular button. I sew them on at the same time I'm sewing decorative buttons on the bag, and I will show you that in just a minute. When you first get your magnets, now they come 2 to a pack, so 2 will do one side of the bag, and you will need 2 to do the other side of the bag. In some projects you'll only need 1 package, but in this one you'll need 2. So when you first get them, they come 2 to a pack, and they're pretty strong magnets. So it looks like they're one piece, but actually if you stick a pin at an angle in between the two magnets and just push on that, they'll come apart. So there are your 2 different pieces to that magnet. So now we'll get to the sewing on part. I like to use heavy-duty thread when I'm sewing on my buttons. This is a size 12 cotton thread. Sulky makes some, Orifil makes some. You can also use a pearl cotton if you want to. I use a long needle, and this is a milliner's needle, size 7. And I use a double strand, and I've knotted it at the end. Now normally I would use a color that matches our project, but I'm using black so that you can actually see it. To start off, you want to bury your knot. And to do this, what I recommend doing is to just take your needle and stick it in where the button is going to be sewn on the outside, and I start on the outside. Now on this, you can position this anywhere you want to. If you want to just put one, put it in the middle. I like to use 2 for added security, and so I position them about 2 inches in from the edge and about 1 inch up from the bottom. Any higher and you wouldn't hit the top of this pocket, so just about 1 inch from the bottom part of your closure. So sew across like that. Now I'm going to put my buttons on, and I like to layer buttons so it makes it a little bit more decorative, but that does mean it's just slightly harder to sew. So I will sew those buttons on, and I'm just going to go back in like that, and I'm going to go all the way to the back of the closure like that. So the buttons are in position. Now I'm going to sew the part of the magnetic button that has the part that sticks out a little bit. So it's this one. It's a flatter piece, but it has a part that sticks out. I'm simply going to take my needle, go up through and back. Whoops. Easier said than done. And then I'm going to sew all the way through to the buttons that are on the outside. Now I want to be careful that I don't twist the thread, so I kind of hold on to it. And I will go back and forth through the holes on top and then through the hole on the bottom in the magnetic snap, and then back out through the hole on the bottom, and I don't do this more than 3 times because I think that limits the effectiveness of the magnet. So I'll do it one more time through the top, all the way through the hole on the bottom, and when I come back out in the top, I'm going to bury my knot underneath this button. So I'm going to come back out at an angle, if you can see that, and then I will knot it so that, again, just like I did when I started, I'm burying that knot underneath the button so you don't see it. Next step, I'm going to fold this back. Whoops, before I do that, I want to figure out where I should place my magnet. So I'm just going to stick a pin through the buttons and through the magnet in the back, like that, and just simply push all the way through so that I've made a hole in the top of my pocket. So my hole is right here. I'm going to pin this back just to keep it out of the way. And now I'm going to sew the second piece. I'll knot my thread, just knotting the ends of the thread, and I'll cut the excess past the knot off. I knot 3 times just to make sure I've got a big enough knot so it doesn't pass through. And again, this is done the same way. This is my spot that I have determined that's where I want to put this. So directly across. Put this part of the magnet, and it has a little indentation. This is the part that's really magnetized, so don't be surprised if your needle kind of sticks to it. So you're going to come out through the hole, back in, and then all the way through the top of the pocket. Sometimes, and I didn't do it here, sometimes I will place a button on the back to hide my stitches. So again, we're going to come back out just like sewing a button on. And again, I only sew 3 times. So that's the third one. I buried my knot underneath this when I started, and I'm going to bury it underneath again when I finish. So I'm just going to knot that. Normally I would knot it several times, but I'm just going to knot it once. Actually, I'll knot it twice because I think that went wrapped around the magnet. And I will cut my thread. And you are all done. So that's how you sew on a magnetic button.